Flavor.
Yeah, boy!
Hey, yo, check 1, 2. This is Flavor Flav in the building for the Better Agency. Nicholas wants everyone to know how they need to listen to the truth that Nick and Preston are giving them. Flavor Flav shouting y'all out right now. You heard me? So hold it down and keep making it a better agency. Alright?
Welcome to this episode of the Better Podcast, where we are talking to agency owners and agents from across the world, the globe, and all around the land about the things that they're doing in their agency to grow their business, to improve sales, improve retention, and overall have their customers like them more. Today, we are joined by Preston Schmidley. He's an ugly guy. If you can see him on video, I'm looking at him right now. But he's here.
I'm a little confused. You said from all around the world and the globe. I thought it was flat.
and we are pleased to have Matt Pascucci from Kentucky, who is joining us here. Before the call, we were talking about the great Kentucky drink, Ale 8. If you are from Kentucky, you know what it is. If you're not from Kentucky, no explanation will suffice. And so, Matt, thank you so much for joining us here on the Better Podcast.
Appreciate
How
it.
are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. I'm glad you pronounced Preston's name correctly.
Yeah, it's progress.
You
I've been doing better with it.
Get better. The more you do it.
It's good to have you on here, Matt. Anybody who can also create memes out of Nick or make fun of Nick is an immediate friend of mine. So this is when I saw your photo of the grandma that's looking at Nick wearing nothing but a Better Agency fanny pack, I knew. I was like, this is a friend of mine. This is a good man.
And no, it's not your first meme. You've made other memes that were
I can
very
make
high
memes
quality.
out of anything. Yeah, I have gotten to a point though where I have to really, really limit myself on the amount of time I put into those things because, it's like I'll give myself 10 minutes. And if it's not done in 10 minutes, then the joke wasn't worth it.
Yeah. I feel like I'm the opposite. Like I'll spend an hour perfecting the highlights of a meme and the shadows.
Oh, I can do that. I mean, I absolutely can do it. That's why I have to limit myself because I can't, I'm not getting paid for that. So
do they have a Memes Anonymous chapter out there, Matt?
There has to be. I mean, I wouldn't know that because it's anonymous, but there has to be somewhere.
There's a town out here, speaking of anonymous, there's a town out here where Kurt Cobain's from called Aberdeen. I was in a Safeway there a few years ago when I was selling life insurance, and this lady was wearing Meth Anonymous hoodie, and I was like, that's not so anonymous when you wear the hoodie in public.
Matt, you have, I think we've been able to see a little bit about it, but I think there's a lot of folks who are watching this, listening to this, who probably don't know anything about you. Give us the 411 on Matt, his life in the industry, where he's at, and where he's going.
I don't know much about myself, to be honest. So this is going to be difficult. So again, I live in Kentucky. I was born at a very early age. In New York. Now I'm originally from Western New York, and so you like that one?
That was great.
Use that one. He is going to use that one.
Yeah, right click, save as. That was good.
When I graduated college, I'm originally from Western New York. Grew up in Lexington, went back up to New York, and did middle school, high school, and college up there, and then came down because my parents had moved down here. So. I've been back in Kentucky for about 20 years now. And I've kind of run the gamut in two industries generally, in sales and in design, graphic design. So my background is in design and marketing and advertising. That's what I went to college for. And I got into sales. You all know Christian Moore very well. Mm-hmm. I met Christian about 15 years ago. We were roommates. So we went to church together and we were roommates. And I think at the time he was working at Sprint, or maybe he had just left Sprint or something like that. And he was like, you should get into sales. I was like, okay, whatever. And so I worked at Sprint, that was my first sales position.
That's cool, man.
I I went from there into selling medical or health related insurance, I guess you could say, in school
Nice.
systems. And from there into design. I worked for an ad agency. And then from there back into sales, and
That's
I've been
cool.
in insurance.
Aside from you being
So
educated, you and Nick have a lot in common, it sounds like.
I had that shirt too. It's another, I was going to
Yeah.
wear that shirt, by the way. I
That's a good shirt. You look good though, man.
thank you. I
So,
appreciate
so
it.
now you are working in an agency, correct?
I work for an independent agency. Just to back up a little bit, I tend to trail off sometimes in my stories. I started at Liberty Mutual. That was my first, I started out in the captive world. Christian, again, as I think back over the years, Christian has been at these pivotal moments and kind of directed me into these places. And
Like an angel on your shoulders.
he's kind of like an angel. Yeah. Yes. A very hairy angel. He had kind of directed me to Liberty Mutual because we'd talked about getting into insurance and, into, personal lines. And he was like, well, Liberty does the training really well. You get into captive, you have a salary, you have, so I was like, that sounds great. And so I got hired at an agency in Lexington on the captive side. And then about a year and a half ago, I moved over to the independent side. And so that's where I am now in an independent agency. And it is night and day. I mean, it's just, they're different worlds.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I think anybody's come from both spaces could attest to just the and when you go from captive to independent, traditionally, you end up kicking yourself thinking, why didn't I do this a lot sooner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's funny is because people will ask me, I've had like probably 4 guys that I either used to work with or that work at different captive agencies or that have reached out over the years and have said, what's the transition like, or what's the benefit? And it's really difficult to describe the differences because it's not, the independent side is not going to be for everybody. And the captive side is not going to be for everybody. And I think it's about finding that, what you're good at. There are captive agents that I know that have been, 25, 30 years with Liberty Mutual or with State Farm or with, and they really found their niche and they found that they were really good at that and they liked that. And then vice versa, you've got guys on the independent side that wouldn't dare go into the captive model as well. So for me, what really clicked for me or, what maybe changed for me was I'm thinking long-term. The renewal piece of it was a massive kind of recognition, like all this work that I'm putting in right now, I'm not in the Liberty Mutual model, not to pick on Liberty, but I think this is true for a lot of captive models. It was very new business driven. And 15, 20 years from now, I could be doing the same thing and not really building a book that was paying me. I was, you're just always churning for that year. You walk in January 1st next year, it's a new year, man. You gotta hustle again. So just kind of thinking through that and running the numbers on that. And that kind of swayed me the other direction.
I think that there's a level of excellence that gets bred there too, though, because it's like you kind of see it. It's like I heard this quote years ago. It said, "Never trust a man who doesn't walk with a limp." It's just like the idea that you've had some life experience, there's some wisdom there, and a lot of, I would say a high percentage of the independents I know that are really successful have some captive experience, right?
Right.
Because there's an element, we take it for granted on this side because we have so many carriers we can sell. You can actually sell on price to be successful as an independent, right? Like that is a model.
Sure.
What level of success that's a variable, but you can be. But there's those people that kind of excelled and found a way to survive at selling on value. And then you give them price, variance. It's like, oh, I'm dangerous, and that's kind of cool. I think that's a staple I've seen of people that went captive and then went independent. It's like, these people are really dangerous in a good way, and that's really cool to see that you have that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I appreciate that. I mean, it was kind of by design. I was talking to an agent while I was there, and he said, and he's still a good friend of mine that works over at Liberty. And he said, look, you're going to get 2 years in, and you're going to hit this point where you're going to have to process what you're doing and in your direction. He said, and some people realize that they want to stay where they are. And some people realize that they want to do something different, whether that's stay in the industry and go to the independent side, whether that's just get out of insurance altogether, whatever. And that was dead on. I mean, it was almost exactly 2 years that I was there. So yeah, you definitely, the training is incredible. I think really that's one of the big things to me, is that I think if you start out brand new in the independent side, it would be like, I would be terrible. Like I just learning the tenets of insurance and the philosophies of insurance on the independent side, there's just so much to juggle. Yeah. I think it would be just I know the way that I think. I think it would be much more difficult for me unless I had that captive experience to start with. So, yeah.
Now, I want to switch gears just a little bit. You've been a user of Better Agency now for a while, and what has that been like bringing your agency under? I don't know what the decision-making process is in the agency, but I imagine there's a final say somewhere. How is it trying to implement what you're trying to do, and what your visions are, and where you see growth happening? How hard has that been to reconcile that into somebody else's agency?
That's a great question. It's not difficult because of the agency that I'm in. It's difficult because of my own limitations, I think. I have a very, and when I say limitations, I would maybe habits would be a better word.
I think everybody has that, whether they're an agency owner or not.
Right. I have a very, I love technology. I mean, I love technology. Like I love finding ways to be more efficient in things. And so when I get a hold of something that I really am passionate about or confident in, I can really get lost in it and spend a lot of time doing it. And so, kind of for the past year, I think, prior to us getting Better Agency, I was searching for ways to become more efficient as an agency. The agency that I was coming into is kind of an old, I don't want to say an old school, but maybe a more traditional model. But our agency owner really wanted to shift into and recognize the benefit of being more automated and less paper heavy, more tech driven, more online marketing, social media, those types of things. He recognized that, look, I'm going to be left behind if I don't get on board with this now. And to be honest, looking back on it, that was kind of a excellent decision at the time, because we had no idea COVID was coming. We had no idea any of this stuff was coming, in late last year. And so we kind of shifted over, and when I got into it, I think we started with, what was it? Completely losing the name. Agent, what's the other one? Not Better Agency, but the one you always go up against.
I don't know their name.
The other CRM type.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's a different one. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
We have a competitor.
We started there. Preston will get it eventually.
You talking about Microsoft, or who are like?
There's another CRM out there that.
Anyways,
you constantly.
And one that.
Anyway, we'll figure it out some other day. We'd use that, and there were just some limitations there that I ran into.
Oh, that one. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And so.
The one with limitations. Oh, you should have said that.
Right. And so there are a few things that I really look for in technology when I'm working in technology. Obviously, ease of use, kind of the user experience is really important to me. I like things to be smooth and to just work. And then secondary to that, if they don't work, I want to know where, how to figure it out, who I can talk to, where do I go to figure this out? How do I fix this? Because a lot of times I'm trying to do something that there's not a written question somewhere that answers it. Somebody's maybe not asked that question before. So I realized very quickly in working with Better Agency and working with you guys that support is there. People would, Athena, just to give you an example, Athena is, as one of the customer service people that I talk to,
She's great.
Early on, we talked to all the time. I was thinking, and I was like, I can't think of another tech company that I know the name of a customer service person, and that I would repeatedly talk to, and we had some type of communication, consistent, some rapport. And if I asked her a question, I knew that it would get answered. If I asked a question in the group, I knew it would get answered. And there was kind of a hive mind there that everybody would jump in with their ideas and their ways to fix things. And that was huge for me. I know that might be kind of a byproduct of what you guys have created. But that was really big for me because, to be honest, Better Agency is a phenomenal program, but it doesn't answer every single question that is going to come up for an agency answer, or for an agency owner, or for a producer. But knowing that you guys are willing to shift and add things and change things is huge. I mean, that's massive for me.
I'm curious in your guys' agency, because I know you're trying to innovate, but at the same time, you're not by any means. I mean, you and Nick do have a lot of parallels as far as you're both sales. Historically, you're both salespeople that are your minds are into design, right? You very similar in that capacity of your journey. I mean, obviously, you have your own paths, but in that, I think that you've achieved a lot for an individual in your lifetime. And so now that you're in the independent space and you're taking some things that are kind of, I don't want to say outdated, but they need to evolve.
Right.
You're taking some of those things and you're applying some of your, I would say the part of you that's attracted to technology and design and innovation. I think I definitely see that in you. Yeah. What do you feel have been some of the biggest ways that Better Agency specifically has improved your agency? Like, because you have a different perspective than a lot of agents we talk to. They're not design type people. Right. They're not idea people. They're insurance agents or salespeople that are just trying to sell insurance. They're just trying to go to work, and generate the money to feed the family. Right. Like, right. That's how a lot of people are in the industry. I think you have a more in-depth appreciation for technology. So I'm curious how in your situation that's been applied.
The biggest thing to me is having the flexibility in the program to do what I want, to say what I want to clients. I love that you guys create campaigns, right? The framework is there. You have filled in the conversation pieces. You've filled in the tasks. You've filled in the text messages, the emails, and all that. That is incredible. What I often find, though, is that I'll go in and, being able to put my own voice into those things, to edit those things is, for somebody who takes a lot of time to craft things, who I really find nuances in conversation and in, even writing an email. Like, if I'm writing an email to a client, if I'm recording a video quote for a client, it takes me a long time because I am very detail oriented. Right. So being able to go into Better Agency and have the framework there already, I just need to go in and put my voice in here and there. That saves me a ton of time. Because if I did that and went in, if I went in and built those things, it would just take forever to do that. Because I know how I think and I know how I work. So that's massive to me. And the other thing too is that I like to think of ways to use. Zapier is huge for me too. We use a lot of things through Zapier. So to me, trying to invent new ways to communicate with clients, to communicate with prospects, to communicate within the agency, and use Zapier to do that. It's almost like between Better Agency and Zapier, I have every tool that I need to do whatever I want. It's just a matter of implementing and kind of coming up with those things. I've used, I don't know, countless CRM types over the years in different, at Liberty Mutual, at Sprint, and ad agencies, here while I've been at the Hutch agency. And they do certain things well. They don't do everything well.
Yeah.
Nobody does everything perfectly.
Sure.
But I don't think anybody covers as much ground as you guys do. And when you recognize that you aren't covering something or need to fix something, very quick to pivot and not. I think in the tech world, especially, people that are very design heavy and very kind of in love with their product, they get very prideful about their product, and they get very prideful about what they've built and what they've put time into. And so sometimes it's difficult as a user to convince those people that, look, that's great, you put all this time into it, but this isn't really helpful to me. And, you get brushed aside.
Yeah.
So I've not sensed that at all with you guys. I've not sensed that with Will. So that's been really big for me.
And the product is just a conduit for change, right? It's just the means for that. And so I think that's the cool part about it, because, when I look at what we've done, it's like, the product's cool. But what's really cool is hearing the success stories, hearing about the impact, right? Like we interviewed another agent. He went from, his retention was previously 95%, which is crazy to begin with. Now it's up to 98%. Like, those are the things I'm prideful about that. I want more of that, And so that's the cool part. And it's really cool to see you guys apply it. And I'm glad that while, you need to put your own voice to it, which you should, right? That's ultimately the goal is it's there to use it. It's pre-created out of the box, but ideally everybody kind of customizes it and makes it their own voice. It's nice to hear that you've been able to mitigate a lot of the time creating and writing and doing all of that. And now it's more, you're just doing quick edits for your voice rather than having to build everything from scratch. I love that. That's really refreshing to hear.
It's just very flexible. That's what I appreciate about it. The flexibility and the kind of the open space to create. It's like, if you're a woodworker and you are visiting somebody else's wood shop, if you walk into their wood shop and they have every tool you could imagine to go in, it's not like they're doing the work for you necessarily, but if you have all the tools in front of you and you can just build whatever you want, like that is such a freeing feeling.
It's a great analogy.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. And another thing I was going to mention too, and I failed to a second ago, but I have I just have a very altruistic approach to insurance and to, serving my clients. And I think when we first started with Better Agency, a lot of my focus was on, okay, how can I make this system or these processes help me? How can I trim the time down so I can get more clients? Or how can I, basically, to me, as I look back, I think it was a selfish approach. Well, I don't want to say selfish, because I think agents need to have that. I think they need to recognize the benefit.
You should be self-serving.
Right. And so as I've worked with it and as I've kind of thought through it, thought, this is Better Agency is, yes, it absolutely has helped me as an agent, but what I have come to appreciate in what I've come to maybe mature in as an agent, as an advisor, as an insurance advisor, is that my clients deserve the best me, right? So they deserve the best advisor. They deserve the best version of me. And if I'm limiting myself, and if I'm disorganized, and if I don't have consistent touches, and if I sell them a policy and then we never talk to them again, that really says something about me to them, and I think that's doing them So I think what Better Agency does is it really helps my clients. It helps my clients by constantly touching them and helping them see, or helping them communicate with me in a better way, helping them understand me. So yeah, I mean, to me, it's a two-sided thing. It's not just from an agent perspective. I think really from a client perspective, if you really want to serve your clients, you need to be able to have open lines of communication. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That kind of dawned on me over the past few months.
Awesome.
That's really one of the things that I really appreciate about it.
I love that.
Well, Matt, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the Better Podcast. I know your time is limited, and like everybody else, you have things going on. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to hop on here with us and to talk about it from a different perspective, because I think we hear from a lot of agency owners and the insurance world is much bigger than that. And so it's always great to hear the perspective of somebody else.
Yeah.
And
I appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah,
honestly,
appreciate
really
you
enjoyed
too.
getting to know you all online. And, I know we joke around a lot, but I love what you guys do. And
keep joking.
We will keep joking. I'll keep making memes, and we'll do what we can to.
And for everybody listening to this, if you're not watching the actual YouTube video, if you're just listening to this, you're going to want to check out the YouTube just so you can really, honor and pay homage to Matt's mustache. It's a mustache for the ages, and it's what every man.
Preston, earlier you said that there was a phrase, "Never trust a guy without a limp." Mm-hmm. I had always heard that it was always trust a man with a mustache.
Really?
Yeah, that's a real phrase.
This is a real phrase
that I made up recently. I'm really trying to get that going in the insurance world. I've tossed around the idea of, putting that on my business cards. And I told my wife that, and she was like, "You're not going to keep that mustache long enough to outlive those business cards."
Just watch.
So,
yeah.
I was like, Becca, I'm trying to build a brand here. I'm trying to, she's like, "Well, it's not going to be the mustache."
Yeah. You have to rely on these good looks then.
My family told me I had to get rid of my mustache, so I got rid of my family.
Yeah, man, I loved my family, but really love this mustache.
Well, Matt,
really do.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you are listening or watching this video, make sure you subscribe wherever you're watching this, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, if it's on iTunes, if you're listening to this on iTunes, and we will see you on the next episode of the Better Podcast. Take care.